Welcome back, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Every summer I find myself on a road trip with my in-laws, and my wife and daughter, of course, because it would be weird if it was just my in-laws. It is certainly important to marry someone you share similar values with, and a bonus to share those values with your in-laws. But I'm not here to share relationship advice, no. But what about music? Especially when you're stuck in a vehicle with your in-laws for what seems like an eternity. This is where yacht rock comes in. So, my mother-in-law loves the Carpenters and Gino Vannelli. No, not that Vannelli, this Vannelli. And yes, I know Gino's song, I Just Want to Stop, was my in-law's wedding song. I just want to stop hearing about it. Although Gino Vannelli has been described as romantic progressive pop, he does explore his own songs with some instrumental sections. My mother-in-law, for some reason, equates prog rock to heavy metal. Any sign of a distorted guitar, and it is like nails on a chalkboard to her. So where do we find common ground? Surprisingly, that would be yacht rock. So what is yacht rock exactly? Well, yacht rock is soft rock from the late 70s and the early 80s. And let's be clear, the yacht rock classification did not exist until the early 2000s. Most music genres were labeled after the fact, including progressive rock. I mean, think about it. They didn't call it classical music during the era of Mozart and Beethoven, right? They just called it music, I guess. Most of my yacht rock listening is through the Yacht Rock radio channel on XM when I am on the road with my in-laws. I have noticed a few groups are in my music collection, although they might not be as progressive as bands like Yes, Genesis, or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, even though ELP released this. They are still part of the Prog family since progressive rock cast a wide net. So let's dive in. Steely Dan is well represented on XM's Yacht Rock radio channel with songs like FM, Peg, and Hey 19, just to name a few. Surprisingly, Yacht Rock Radio has even played King of the World, which I think is Steely Dan's most progressive song. Steely Dan started out in the early 70s as more of a rock band, with some jazz leanings led by singer-keyboardist Donald Fagen and bass player-guitarist Walter Becker. Their debut, Can't Buy a Thrill, was a runaway hit, and they released one truly great album after another through the 70s. By 1977, they completely abandoned their rock tendencies for a very accessible jazz sound with their Asia album. If you listen closely to the background vocals, you will distinctly hear Michael McDonald's voice, who would eventually join the Doobie Brothers. Now, I don't know him, but apparently he's my brother. McDonald is considered to be the yacht rock poster child along with Christopher Cross, not that I would buy a poster of either of them. I did see Steely Dan way back in 2006 in Scranton, Pennsylvania with Michael McDonald. I also read Donald Fagen's book Eminent Hipsters. It was an odd book because it barely mentioned Steely Dan at all. It went through Fagen's childhood up to meeting Walter Becker and then skipped ahead to journal entries he made while on tour in 2010 with the Dukes of September Rhythm Review, which included Michael McDonald and another yacht rock legend, Boz Scaggs. Fagen's humor is written through the lens of a curmudgeon, and he doesn't really care for the people that made him famous, you know, the fans. It was an okay book, but it wasn't what I expected. Todd Rundgren left the Philadelphia-based group Nas in 1969 to pursue studio production and engineering, but he still had an inclination for writing and recording. His third album, Something Anything, produced the popular yacht rock staples I Saw the Light and Hello, It's Me. After being labeled as the male version of Carole King, which he really didn't care for, and feeling like he was recycling pop song ideas, he would immerse himself into prog rock with A Wizard, A True Star, and Todd. He also formed the very progressive Utopia that would later turn new wave. Todd returned to his roots in his 1978 album, Hermit of Mink Hollow, which featured the song Can We Still Be Friends, yet another yacht rock tune. I recall seeing Todd Rundgren live in Albany, and he said unbeknownst to him, Can We Still Be Friends was a hit in Australia. Had he known, he would have toured there. Robert Palmer did a very faithful cover of Can We Still Be Friends and Utopia's Love Is the Answer from their 1977 album, Oops, Wrong Planet, has also made its way onto the Yacht Rock XM channel. 1978 also saw the release of Rundgren's live album, Back to the Bars. It consisted of a version of Hello It's Me, which included guest Hall & Oates, who wrote some very popular yacht rock songs of their own. My mother-in-law was once kissed on the cheek by John Oates and claims to not have known who it was, until her friends told her, probably because it wasn't Gino Vanelli. True story. "10cc" consisted of guitarist-keyboardist Eric Stewart, bass player Graham Goldman, guitarist-keyboardist Lowell Cream, and drummer Kevin Godley. Goldman had already established himself as a songwriter with Bus Stop for the Hollies and For Your Love for the Yardbirds. I do prefer 10cc's first couple of albums, but it was their third album, the original Soundtrack, that produced the hit and later yacht rock song, I'm Not in Love. Godley and Cream would later depart after the fourth album, How Dare You, to form Godley and Cream. 10cc would continue on with the 1977 album Deceptive Bends that contained the hit The Things We Do for Love. Now keep in mind that 10cc doesn't take themselves too seriously. When I saw Graham Goldman, as part of Ringo Starr and his All-Star Band, he performed I'm Not in Love and The Things We Do for Love, as well as Dreadlock Holiday. Also present were guitarist Steve Lukather, which produced huge well-known yacht rock songs with Toto, and Santana and original Journey keyboardist vocalist Greg Rowley, including Colin Hay from Men at Work. Ambrosia was a California-based band, and after seeing an unknown King Crimson in 1969, their musical world would change. Their first self-titled album, and most progressive, was released in 1975. Soon after, the band would find themselves playing on the first Alan Parsons Project album, Tales of Mystery and Imagination, since Parsons was the mixdown engineer for their debut. Parsons would also produce their second album, Somewhere I've Never Traveled. Don't forget, the Alan Parsons Project produced the well-known yacht rock song, Eye in the Sky. It wasn't until Ambrosia's third album that they almost fully shed their prog rock sound for smoother pop. 1978's Life Beyond LA would contain the hit single How Much I Feel, which again is a yacht rock classic. They would continue in the same vein with their 1980 album, 180, which also produced yacht rock hits Biggest Part of Me and You're the Only Woman. They attempted to get back to their prog rock roots in their 1982 album Rhode Island, and even though it had solid reviews, it did not sell very well, and it resulted in the band breaking up for a while. Electric Light Orchestra and Supertramp probably belong in the conversation as well, but I would like to take a moment to recommend a few albums for farther listening if you like a mix of prog and yacht rock. City Boy is a very hard band to classify and certainly have prog and yacht rock tendencies. Their biggest hit, 5705, from their 1978 Book Early album, will probably satisfy most yacht rock lovers. The 1977 album Young Men Gone West is also more of a smoother pop rock affair. Max Webster's 1978 album A Million Vacations, which I have talked about before, is a loose concept based on summer vacations. Hailing from Canada, Max Webster put an emphasis on summer in a lot of their music, being, as they put it, frostbit Canadian boys. Songs Paradise Skies, Charmonium, and Let Go the Line definitely fit into the realm of yacht rock. Roxy Music started as more of an art rock band, but ventured more and more into pop after the departure of Brian Eno. Their later 70s albums would probably be more accessible to yacht rock fans, but the 1982 album Avalon would probably resonate due to a softer pop sound. If there's anything I missed, let me know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay.
What are you doing?
Just making a video.
About what?
Music.
Oh, I like music. Hey, did I ever tell you about my wedding song? Welcome to my Yacht Rock show. In this episode, we're going to talk about the time John Oates kissed me right here on the cheek. Eat your heart out, Daryl Hall.